Hey, what is up? Welcome to another Fire from Heaven show live. Today, I'm going to be talking about my song Mythopoeia, which is based on the poem by J.R.R. Tolkien called Mythopoeia. Not all of it is based on it, but a lot of it was inspired by it. So, we're going to be getting into that. But first, I forgot to do this earlier. Roll the intro. Okay, we're back. So, I just like to do these stories behind the songs once in a while. And I actually haven't recorded anything like where I'm talking for quite a while. I've been cranking out lots of instrumentals, just getting them all ready to add the vocals and finalize the songs and stuff. But yeah, thought it was about time I did another one of these because I still haven't done it for this song Mythopoeia that came out like last month. And we just released a new song called Day of Indignation featuring Hard Look, where I'm going to do that one as well, probably tomorrow or something. But thank you for joining me. And Fire from Heaven is, it's heavy metal, Christian heavy metal, and it's all fantasy. It's like allegorical storytelling, kind of like Chronicles of Narnia, but like... It's not like the band Narnia, it's more death metal, because there's a band called Narnia that does metal music about those stories. But this is a pretty laid back show, pretty chill. I'm sitting here sipping on coffee and stuff. I'm just hanging out, so thank you for joining me. Now, we're going to get into the lyrics. Buckle up, because there's a lot. There are a lot of lyrics in this song. Nothing is repeated. I'm sitting here looking at it. I'm like, geez, like I don't even know where this stuff comes from half the time whenever I'm writing it. All right. So, if you're not familiar with like the poem by J.R.R. Tolkien, Mythopoeia, it's something he wrote to C.S. Lewis actually before he was a Christian. Kind of addressing something he said about myths, which I don't remember the quote directly, but it was, he said something about myths being lies breathed through silver or something like that. And Tolkien's like, no, myths are like, the highest truths, It's just very, like, poetic in their description and everything, but that's, really what myths are, and, like, I know Christians, like, they don't like the idea of the Bible being a myth story, but it is. It's everything that consists of a myth the Bible has. What people don't understand is they see myth as something that's not true. Whenever it's, it's almost like the highest truths that say a culture, for example, has come to understand. A lot of times, there are a lot of stories and stuff like that and things, in them, but they're, all myths are allegorical as well, and deeper meaning and truths behind them. You just got to be willing to dig and look for it. Sometimes they're easier to find, sometimes they're not, but anyways. Myths are important, and myth making is important, and Mythopoeia means myth making, and I'm pretty sure the term Mythopoeia was invented by Tolkien. I'm not totally certain on that, but it's a word he made up to basically mean myth making and the importance of myth makers, the role of myth makers in the world. Anyways, let's get into the lyrics. Got a baby screaming behind me. Anyways, lyrics. Earth gazer, bound by the sun's cruel rain, you scorn those who seek realms beyond this plane. Which centuries gone by, you cling to the same path, bathing in bloodshed, blind to the aftermath. So what I'm saying there is, someone whose gaze is like fixated on the earth is just earth gazer, kind of like a character I'm describing, and similar to in Tolkien's poem, he kind of creates this allegory, and there are sort of different characters in it, and you know, go check it out because you can just look it up on Google and you can find it for free. But just hear him saying you're so fixated on the earth, and scorning those who look beyond the earth. And then we're gonna get into some deep stuff, and I'm just gonna be truthful with like what I wrote and what I meant by it. And so like what I'm addressing here, with centuries gone by, you cling to the same path, bathing in bloodshed, blind to the aftermath. That just like the results of this sort of fixation on the earth, and certain that every problem to our world is found in our world, I guess, if that makes sense. And then I continue on. How many others' blood must cry out from the soil? I'm kind of making a connection to when Cain killed his brother Seth, and in the Bible there it says his blood, like God, when he comes to Cain, he's like, I heard your brother's blood cry out from the soil. So I kind of like, I was like, I thought that was cool to throw in there. Next line, till you admit your faults and end the turmoil, denying the remedy, dismissing the cure, while your earthbound gaze condemns you to endure. So just what I'm saying here is that a lot of the problems in the world that like people want to blame on God, he's given the answers to. He's given the answers to deal with. People don't like it, so they don't practice those things, but they still want to blame God for them, and that's what I'm kind of getting at here. And people misunderstand times whenever those claiming to be to do evil in God's name, that says something about the character of God, but it doesn't. It's like me taking something like my car, for example, and not taking care of it, and then I end up well, that's really stupid not to take care of it, right? But I end up like getting in some sort of accident or something because something wasn't taken care of. But that doesn't say anything about the person who built it. That says more about my character. And it does. It's a logical fallacy to do this, is what I'm trying to say. When we were given something, we were given the earth, we were given the things we needed to take care of it. We were given the principles to govern it. We were given the laws to govern it, and we choose not to do it, to govern it under God, to be a people under God, to be God's creatures. And it's the same way. We're not preserving our world the way we should, ourselves the way we should, our society is the way we should, the way we were directed to. And the results are what you see in the world, and it doesn't make sense to blame God. Or then people go, oh, what about natural disasters and stuff like that? Like, those just happen. Of whether that's God or not, I couldn't really say. I don't think anyone could really say for certain, but there are things we can control, and we choose to try and do it our own way when we've been given a way that directed, given everything we need to do it right, and we choose not to because we don't want to be God's creatures. We don't want to be under him. We don't want to be under any authority, though whenever that kind of humanistic ideas govern the world, we end up enslaving ourselves. Anyways, I totally lost my place where it was in the lyrics. Next line is myth mocker, extinguishing life's fire, reducing ancient tales to mindless mire. So they're like going, you know, really talking about the Bible here, you know, the biblical stories. Like, I'm referring to them as myth. Though some people disagree, like I said, you know, it depends on how you define myth. But, you know, what I'm saying here is it breathes life, you know, into our lives. Myths and stories, you know, people mock them. Oh, that's just a fairy tale. That's just a myth. You know, like, those are the things that, like, breathe life into everything we do. You know, everything we do is like, there's myths and stories everywhere. You know, movies, books, TV shows, whatever. Those are all, you know, stories and tales and things like that. They're there to inspire us and breathe life into us, you know. And then I keep going. But beware, for the legends shall arise, breathing inspiration, defying your lies. And I'm just kind of proclaiming a truth that I believe in, of that this is more than myth in the way that people see them, at least. That these are truths, that these are realities that we just don't understand or don't see. Continuing on, this is going to be a long one. Not even that far into the song yet. Next line, sacrificing their essence, your kin you betray. You claim to save them, yet you forsake your kind, as your mocking laughter echoes, leaving love behind. So, how do I explain this? I think there's just like a way that some people view the world, that they don't see any essence in things. They don't believe there's any essence in things. A thing is just a thing and it's nothing more. And, you know, obviously, like, this is just a mic, you know? But, like, are all things like that? I don't know. You know, it's a reflection that I see in the poem Mythopoeia by Tolkien. And, you know, it's just something I thought I'd throw in there. And it's like, there is essence in things, and, like, people are more than just, you know, matter. And, you know, we're imbued with purpose and meaning. But when this kind of, like, extreme teaching that, like, there's no essence in people, there's no real meaning to life, that is self-destructive. And that's what I'm saying when I say you betray your kin, and you though you're claiming to save them, you're forsaking them, you know, we're forsaking each other. And well, that's what I'm trying to say there, basically. Next, hopefully this isn't seeming boring. I know this is kind of like, almost like a lecture or something. I want it to seem like that. I'm just explaining the stories behind these songs. Some of them are, like, deeper than others, and there's just, like, a lot of reflecting that went into this. And a lot of thought. There's a lot of lyrics too, so we'll try to speed it up a little bit. If I can find where I left off now. Now, next line. A world without stories, devoid of all myth. A life without joy, where purpose is adrift. You know, I'm just saying that a world without stories, you know, without myth, is a life without joy. And where you basically, when there's these stories lacking, that where myth is, it's hard to explain. There's a lack of purpose in the world today. There's a lack of meaning, and that's what I'm kind of reflecting on here. But some of the things I write, I don't even understand, to be honest. So, you know, obviously, like, everybody kind of like likes to listen to music because they have their own inspiration. They see it through their own eyes and through their own worldview, whatever. That's fine. So it doesn't have to always be super deep and super thought out when you write lyrics, I don't think. So some things like they just rhyme and they sound cool and kind of flow with the meaning, but also kind of don't give all of the answers necessarily and leave you to wonder and reflect. And that's kind of like the goal here, is just to like inspire like deeper thinking and reflection on things. And this song is like very like, because it's based on the poem by Tolkien, it's like very poetic and like kind of mysterious, and I don't know. But it's also like pretty plain and simple, as well, with like what it's getting at. It's that stories are important. They breathe life into our day, into our lives. I keep trying to think of something else to say because I'm basically saying they breathe life into our lives, but they do. So, yeah. And it's just it's poetic redundancy. I'm saying the same thing over and over a lot in different ways. Describing a world without stories and without myths, I keep going, a soulless existence doomed to self-destruct, for stories give life, in their embrace were plucked. I keep continuing, the old tales you belittle, mere comfort you claim, but tremble in fear as the legends reclaim the tapestry of reality woven with care, unleashing the ancient beyond your despair. So, again, I'm just kind of like being poetically redundant and saying things, proclaiming things that I believe, that a lot of the things we believe in that are very ancient and old are a lot more real than people believe or realize. And then next line, Earth Gazer, your gaze shall be shattered by the resurgence of dreams and legends untattered. In the realm of fantasy, life shall prevail, for stories inspire and the world will not fail. And the next few lines, stuck gazing upon the trees, their labels unjust, reduced to mere names, their essence crushed. So that's kind of like one of the things I was talking about, like with essence before. Just like sort of like extreme. I'm trying to think of the correct term here. I don't know if it's materialism. No, I don't know if it's materialism, but like this extreme view that a thing is all that it is, like a person is this or that or whatever, or just. I think man is arrogant, and though a lot of science today is helpful, I think there's a lot of things that constantly change, obviously, because man realizes he's not right about a lot of things. And so I think man's certainty in some things is a bit arrogant, and being certain that this is all that something is, it kind of takes away its essence, is what I'm getting at. Like it says, stuck gazing upon the trees, their labels unjust, reduced to mere names, their essence crushed. So that's part of like what's in the poem in Mythopoeia, and like what Tolkien is getting at is that I think it's like having a sort of wondrous view of the life around you and seeing it as a miracle. It's like over obsession with scientific facts and stuff like that. This is how this happened, and that this is what all that's in it, whatever, all that you see here makes up this. I don't know. I'm not like saying anything against science. I'm just saying like having a wondrous view of the world gives life, inspires stories, inspires life, more life. And I think that's part of what Tolkien was getting at too, because of the sort of extreme view that C.S. Lewis had, that myths were lies and stuff like that, that were just really made to look beautiful and stuff like that, and that's not really like what the point was with them. And I'm sure he came to this understanding as well because he wrote his own myths. Here's his crush. With solemn pace, we tread this minor sphere, a speck in space imprisoned here. Stars reduced to matter, life's spark denied, in regimented coldness, souls petrified. So, again, it's basically saying the same thing. Like, people, during it's just like at ancient times, like they saw things as everything was imbued with essence. You can view that as good or bad, but things like the stars were things beyond them that were much more powerful and things like that, things they placed their hope in. That's kind of like more of the point, like where I'm getting to with all this. It's having hope in something beyond this world that's full of pain and struggle. And the end of the song will kind of get to that conclusion. So, but I'm kind of just explaining that here is like it's just having that, like, think of Tolkien in the Lord of the Rings when Sam looks up and he sees the star like over the clouds of Mordor, and he's like, look, there's light up there far beyond this darkness that no darkness far beyond this world that no darkness can touch, and he's just like finding hope in that to carry on through this difficult struggle that they're going through, in the darkest part of the world in Mordor. He sees that star and he finds hope and renewed energy to keep on his quest. And that's really what I'm trying to get to here. Is like having these kind of things to place our hope in, whether they be scientific and real or not. I don't give a dang. They give meaning to life, and that creates a better world than this extreme view that reality has no meaning and we're just here to be here. That creates no good things, develops no good character in people, no hope, nothing. That's really the point of all this that I'm trying to get to. So let's keep going. Bound by a will beyond our comprehension, marching through time seeking vague ascension. From dark beginnings to uncertain goals, the script of existence filled with countless scrolls. Unveiling the forms grim, frail, or sublime, in this cosmic dance connected through time. God forged the rocks. I lost my place. Birthed a boreal might, earthly and stellar realms igniting our sight. Not mere records or photographs to behold, but divinations, creations, stories untold. Just like, especially like that part there. Seeing these, things we do in life as much more than just what they are, that gives like a whole new meaning and purpose to what we're doing. In a good way, I think. So, we continue on. Inward movements, kin to life and death's call, we set free captives, shattering shadowy walls. This is the goal of these stories, these kind of ideas of seeing things beyond us as more than like what they appear to be, and choosing to have that view that there are things higher and further above us that are beyond the evils of this world that we see, beyond the dark places that we see, right? Like I say here, we set free captives, shattering the shadowy walls. That's like what these stories do. They inspire, they breathe life, set free captives, people who are told a harsh reality that their life has no meaning and that they're nothing. They're just a speck in the vast expanse of eternity. That they mean nothing, their lives mean nothing. It's all meaningless. I don't understand how people who say this sort of thing feel any sort of call or reason to tell people this, if that is where they come from. They say, from nothing we come and into nothing we go. So why do you feel so obligated to even do anything? You know, why are you wasting your time here when you could just be doing whatever, satisfying whatever pleasures you have? You know, if that's your view, then really all life should be about is you. And does that create any good character in the world? Does that create anything in the world good? No, it does not. So that's really like the whole goal of this song, is to, you know, kind of speak to that. Now, that's my place again. Unearthing powers hidden deep within, beholding the one who sparked creation's spin. Oh, see the stars, living silver ablaze, bursting like flowers in ancient melodies, haze. Gaze upon the firmament like a jeweled dome, myth-woven, detailed patterns our cosmic home. No earth exists without the Creator's embrace, whence all beings arise in their destined place. Trying to like instill a sense of meaning and purpose in this harsh reality is the goal of myths. The heart of man holds wisdom untamed, drawn from the wise, though estranged and unnamed. Not wholly lost, nor fully transformed, we cling to fragments of lordship once adorned. This is kind of something Tolkien goes into in Mythopoeia. It's like the idea of us being sub-creators, myth makers. You know, we cannot create as God creates, but in, you know, how the Christian belief is that we are created in God's image, doesn't necessarily mean, you know, appearance, but it also means we bear his image, we bear his name, and that part of what comes with that is who he is and what he does. You know, he creates. So Tolkien had this view that we are sub-creators and we create with what we are given. We take the things we are given, we make more with it. It's kind of like our purpose in life. We're supposed to make more of the things we have. That is like the Christian belief, is that we are called to stewardship, to govern well the things we have that God has given us, and to turn them into more good things is the goal. Next line, creators we are by the laws we're given, weavers of dreams to challenge your loss of meaning. So there I'm directly addressing, I'm saying this is, you know, we're weaving dreams, we're making myths and stories to challenge the loss of meaning that the world faces. That facing this harsh reality, or some people may call it reality, others might argue with that is what we're saying. We're challenging that belief that no, this isn't true. Our lives do have meaning. They do have purpose, and we battle that loss of meaning by weaving dreams and myths and stories to inspire and breathe life into people's lives, rather than to take away the breath of life, which is interesting. That seems to be the goal of people who are so inclined to do so, though they believe their life has no purpose. They are completely committed to this purpose of telling people their lives have no purpose. We spin wish fulfillment, conquering our fears, defying ugly facts as hope perseveres. There are things in the world that are ugly facts. And this is what we're saying. You know, we spin wish fulfillment, conquering our fears. We do these things because by doing them, we conquer our fears. Rather than despairing and saying life has no meaning, no purpose, and we should all just die, we spin wish fulfillment, conquering those fears. We defy ugly facts as hope perseveres. And then kind of go into a more reflective state, asking some questions. From where do wishes come? Why do we dream? It's asking this question. We come from nothing, but why do we have these wishes? Why do we dream? Whether or not it is something psychological, it's something we do in order to find meaning in life and to live well. Stinking dogs barking. I don't see why that's a bad thing. But to some it is. Honey, be quiet. Anyways. Not all wish is idle nor without aim, for pain is pain and suffering brings shame. So, I don't remember if this was directly from the poem or not. I have to go and read it again because it's been a while since I wrote all this. But there's a purpose for these things, that they're not idle, they're not without purpose or without reason, that they're, made. These wishes, or even just the wishes that we have, there's purpose and there's meaning in them, whether we understand that or not. Next few lines, this is kind of like, it's pretty close to the lines of what Tolkien says in his poem as well. I won't tread with your progressive horde. Before they're dark, they're lured. Towards the abyss their progress aims. By every philosophy they are swayed. He's just making like this proclamation. I'm not going to live this way. I'm not going to live in this sort of meaningless way. Whether this is the reality or not, that can be argued. Some would agree and some would disagree. That there are higher powers above us, and there are things, that there is essence in the world around us and in ourselves, beyond like what we understand. He's saying like, I choose to view things this way, and I'm not going to tread with this progressive horde that's lured before the dark, because they're so obsessed with this reality they believe in that they're, like I said earlier, there's, for some reason, they're so instilled with a purpose to tell people they have no purpose. It is self-destructive, and it's luring people towards the abyss, luring themselves and others. Kind of like the idea of the blind leading the blind. And their progress aims towards nothing but the abyss. Just a complete decline. And then I kind of threw in the line after that, by every philosophy they are swayed, by every set of ideas that, whatever influencer is popular now, they're swayed back and forth by whatever, there's so many, there's good ideas and bad ideas out there, but there's so many overly obsessive ideas that are self-destructive, and people just don't realize it because they don't question it. That there's so many ideas that are fallacious, so many teachings that are fallacious. They're false, thinking. They're not logical thinking. They make no sense. They're self-destructive. That's what I'm getting at here. Continuing on, ceaselessly revolving. And by the way, I just want to go back to by every philosophy they are swayed, because it's interesting, because a person is going to be influenced by stories and ideas, whether they're good or bad, and whether you dress them up as stories or not. And the problem that I see nowadays is that, this, by every philosophy they're swayed, that every set of ideas, that they, whatever's new, trendy on social media, they're swayed by this or that. That is the importance of having that, the teachings of like the Bible, for example, my beliefs, that those stories, those morals, those principles, those laws that govern people's lives, something absolute, that is something you can ground yourselves on, because otherwise you're just swayed this way and that over here. something is considered virtuous, and then over here something is considered immoral and evil, but it's the same thing. It's just two different, whether it's in a different culture or whatever, there are absolute things that are right and wrong that transcend all cultures, and that, you know, some people call them laws of nature, whatever you want to call them. All I'm saying is there are things that are right and wrong that need to be defined as right and wrong, regardless of what, different cultures would say. And there are. Though people just don't want to believe there's anything absolute today because that's bad for some reason. Now, continue on. We're almost there to the end, actually. Ceaselessly revolving on a fruitless track, denoting this and that, a path so flat. It's just kind of like, I don't go too deep into it. But it is just a path that's so flat and without life. It's just like, oh, this isn't, true, or that isn't true, whatever. Denoting this and that, and it's just like I described, a fruitless track. Now continue on. Your will immutable. By the way, if you have any questions about this, I will answer them afterwards, because I know I'm kind of zooming through this, and I'm trying to make sure everything's making sense the way I'm explaining it. We'll continue on. But if you have questions, let me know. Your world immutable, devoid of creation's art, no part for the little maker, no maker's part. I won't bow before the iron crown's reign. That is actually something that Tolkien does say in the poem. And he's referring to Morgoth, the Iron Crown of Morgoth, and but it's he's talking about it in this poem because Morgoth is like this evil being, right? That's just trying to dominate the world, and doesn't care how many people lives are lost, corrupted, how much of the world is corrupted. He's hell bent on destroying everything his fellow Valar made of the world, because he wants it to be his own world, and he doesn't want any others part of it, basically. But that's what he's saying here. I won't bow before the iron crown's reign, nor relinquish my golden scepter's domain. I don't know if he really explains this, but like when I look at it, like my golden scepter's domain, like my domain is what I view as like, this is like what my calling is. I'm not going to relinquish that, so for him, obviously that would have been like his stories and everything. He's not going to relinquish that to the Iron Crown's reign. Now continue on. Mirror truth's reflection, renewing the real. The blessed land reveals freedom's holy seal. Salvation untouched, neither changed nor crushed. Still they create, not bound by the realm of the dead, poets adorned with flames upon their head. Mythopoeia. It's kind of concluding with this idea of myth makers, poets adorned with flames upon their head. Just like describing in a dramatic way the epic role that myth makers have in the world. There's a lot of quotes out there and stuff saying things along the lines like those who write the stories, basically, like, I don't know what the quote is, but it's an important role, and it's a role that is often abused. But those who truly take this calling seriously are like warrior poets, It's pretty epic. But that is a conclusion. I know there's a lot here, and it's a lot of like poetic redundancy and stuff like that, so not necessarily a lot of stuff to talk about. And I kind of get off on personal tangents and like sharing my own beliefs and stuff, and that's fine if you disagree. I'm not like one of those people who's gonna like smack you with a Bible if you disagree with me. So if you have questions or anything, you want to ask me, feel free to, because I'm gonna be real about what I believe. And I'm gonna be real when I write my music and stuff. I'm not gonna try and sugarcoat it to be accustomed to the freaking world that we live in that is so freaking incapable of thinking when it comes to anything that disagrees with their own beliefs or views of the world, that are so incapable of seeing anything beyond themselves. I'm not saying everyone's like that, but it's just, it's crazy to me that even there are a few people who are like that, but they're always like probably will be. But anyways, have any questions? Let me know. And like I said, I'm not gonna thump you with a Bible. Usually when I do any Bible thumping, it's towards other Christians, so don't worry about it. I'll see you later. Stay metal. And be real, Don't try to cover up who you are. Be real about what you believe. And proclaim it if you feel the call to. Doesn't mean people have to agree with me, but I'm going to proclaim what I believe. So, just if you disagree or whatever, that's fine. I don't care. Move on with your life. I'll move on with mine. And I'll see you later.